What's up, guys? John here. A whopping 4.7 million homes in America will not be able to be sold or refinanced in the next 34 days. Now I'm going to break down exactly what's going on here because this is absolutely insane. Glenn Kelman, the CEO of Redfin, issued this warning in 2021. He said, you won't believe this, he says that I think that the idea of climate is going to be factored into how people think about housing. It hasn't happened yet. The only people who figured it out are the actuaries, the people who have to calculate the cost of insuring these properties. Increasingly, it's going to get harder to get insurance. It's going to get harder to get a loan for these properties because the lender is going to see the writing on the wall that it's collateral risk.
Buyers just keep marching into the jaws of destruction. Climate change is going to be factored into how people think about housing.
Now, this came out 45 minutes ago, saying a man-made disaster could make it trickier to buy or sell a home in some areas this fall. And September 30th is the deadline. 4.7 million policyholders. The only way in which you'll be able to sell that property, if you own one in this area, is going to be if it's an all-cash buyer. And what do all-cash buyers want? They want a deal. They want an absolute steal, some would say. They're all cash for a reason. They're waiting to take advantage of distress. You have a record $6 trillion in money market accounts waiting for this moment. It's absolutely shocking what we're walking into. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. YouTube will share this content. Educate more people about what's going on in the U.S. housing market. If you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself, what I believe is going to be an unreal type of wealth transfer. We'd love to help you if you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative or derogatory item on your credit report. Go to greatcreditfast.com, click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free call for tomorrow, and check out reviews on TrustPilot. Take a look at this. So, consumers in the market for a home have been patiently waiting for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates, a move it seems poised to make in September. But without action from Congress, there could be another change at the end of that month that makes it temporarily trickier to buy or sell a home in some areas or refinance an existing mortgage. Now, on floodsmart.gov, you can see the URL right there. It says, what are flood zones and maps? Everyone lives in an area with some flood risk. It's just a question of whether you live in a high risk, low risk, or moderate risk flood area. Flood maps show a community's flood risk. Flood zones are indicated in a community's flood map. Do you know your flood zone and your flood risk, right? Well, what they say is it's because the National Flood Insurance Program, the government-sponsored public insurance program that is the largest flood insurer in the U.S., needs to reauthorize by September 30th to continue to issue new policies or increase coverage on existing policies. Homeowners' insurance policies typically don't cover flood damage, meaning if a consumer who wants to protect their home and its contents from its peril needs a standalone flood policy, mortgage lenders may require applicants to obtain such a policy before closing, depending on the flood risk for that property. This is about the ability to get a mortgage in a flood zone after September 30th. Now, Glenn Kelman even said again, January 10th last year, says that homeowners in flood zones will have trouble selling to regular buyers. Now, what are the odds that he would say this? 2021, September 3rd, 2021, saying it's going to be hard to get loans. It's going to be harder to refinance and sell and buy a property in these areas. And then he says it again in 2023, that homeowners in flood zones will have trouble selling to regular buyers. And now CNBC is reporting that this is what the government's saying. It's going to be harder to sell, buy, and refinance 4.7 million properties. You think about that. Millions of people think they have so much equity in their homes because they go on Zillow. And Zillow says, hey, my home's worth $500,000. Well, is it? If 90% of buyers are basically pushed out of the market, depending on where you're operating. I mean, many markets are basically all cash, in many cases, but you start to look at this. You start to look at what's actually happening in today's market, right? A lot of cash is kind of pulling back and waiting to see what's going to happen. It says this is about the ability to get a mortgage in flood zones after September 30th. Without an NFIP extension, you're not going to be able to get a mortgage in any area that requires flood insurance. Congress established the NFIP in 1968 to provide reasonably priced flood insurance coverage. The biggest water flood insurance reform act in 2012, which includes the NFIP authorization, expired September 30th, 2017. Since then, Congress has extended, but it's also lapsed briefly in times of that period. This has been an issue now for many years, where the program faces expiration and Congress at the last minute reauthorizes it. I mean, this is absolutely crazy what's happening in this economy. I mean, what's happening to people's property, people's wealth, right? Every day, something crazy is happening, and then it doesn't happen, and then it's happening, and it doesn't happen. But when you look at what they're saying, they talk heavily about climate. They talk a lot about risk. They talk a lot about insurance losses and all of these disasters. Every month we hear of a major story that's happening, right? Could we see a scenario where maybe they don't re-extend this? They don't, issue some type of extension, and instead these markets basically closed out. And then it's these Wall Street firms that step in saying, hey, look, we're going to let these property owners bleed out a little bit longer, and then we'll buy it directly from the bank. And then maybe these banks are saying, look, you know what? We need to offload this bad inventory, all this delinquent debt. We need to sell it. And the highest ready, willing, and able buyer is XYZ private equity firm who's going to buy up this entire neighborhood from us, right? Am I saying that's going to happen? No. But am I saying that we live in a crazy world where things that we would say would never happen? Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Look at this. I mean, it's crazy how fast this is going. The NFIP insures 4.7 million policyholders and protects more than 1.28 trillion. Existing policies may be shielded by the effects of a lapse. Policies are in force, will remain in force, and the NFIP will continue to pay claims under those policies during a lapse. If your flood insurance policy renewal or expiration date is around September 30th, try to renew it early. Check out the expiration date and make plans in advance. Homeowners considering refinancing an existing mortgage will also want to weigh the timing with the September 30th reauthorization deadline in mind if their lender has required flood insurance coverage. Now, I personally believe that between now and to November, we're going to just start seeing, really January 1, we're going to start seeing so many crazy things unfold here. A lot of chaos, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of geopolitical problems. I think we're just going to start to see a lot more, curveballs coming out of left field. And I think this would not surprise me to see this not get extended. I'm not saying it's going to or is not going to. We have no idea, but it wouldn't surprise me. The NFIP has been continuously reauthorized because of the potential consequence of limited private insurers available. We're in this real catch-22. We have a bad program, no one likes it, but you can't get rid of it because people are dependent on it without a better alternative, and no one can agree on better alternatives. Until recently, the NFIP had a reputation as being a subsidized insurance program in which people in places far away from the coast paid for flood insurance for those who live in high-risk areas. Then in 2021, FEMA implemented the Risk Rating 2.0, a new pricing system that would accurately reflect the cost of an area's risk. Homeowners and elected representatives of coastal states have pushed back against that change because of how high premiums got. All of a sudden, you went from paying $800 a year to paying thousands of dollars a year for insurance. What do you think about this situation? Do you think that, think about how well that worked out for the insurance companies, though. They came out with this FEMA 2.0 rating, and then, out of nowhere, rates doubled, tripled, quadrupled, right? Who won there? The insurance companies, right? The big players win. Right now, who's getting stiffed? The everyday mom and pop property owner, right? Senator Bill Cassidy in early August about rising cost of NFIP premiums in his Gulf Coast state have urged Congress to improve the program. My team is working on a bipartisan solution that will roll back Risk Rating 2.0 and make insurance more affordable and accountable again. Congress is unlikely to let NFIP entirely expire given the number of homeowners who depend on the program. The real problem is that flood insurance program is a financial debacle, and the Congress doesn't seem capable of fixing it. Instead, what Capitol Hill does is just kick the can down the road. What do you think about this scenario? Do you think we're going to see them let this lapse, and we're going to see, a lot of people not able to tap into their equity. Most people, they have a home, they don't just get one loan and they say, what, I'm just going to pay this off for 30 years. They get a loan, 3, 5, 7 years later, they refinance it. Then another 3, 5, 7 years later, they refinance it. And then they refinance again. When your home equity is locked up and you can't touch it, and the job market's fallen apart, and the economy looks very questionable, and then you can only sell it to a cash buyer, what is the true value of that property? I guess soon we might find out. Let's have a conversation about this below. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for what I think is going to be the greatest wealth transfer in American history, we'd love to help you at my company, greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative or derogatory items in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow and check out reviews on Trustpilot. Catch you next video.